It is 11 March 2018, and this video will be a continuation of the previous video where we'll talk about the roots of the occult orders that have a significant control over the world. We talked about how it's based in Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, medieval Jewish mysticism. We mentioned the Talmud and how hateful it is towards all non-Judaics. But I failed to mention that Albert Pike actually said that Masonry is pledged to assist Judaics. And there's also, and I will have to track the name down, but there are Judaic authors that say the same thing, that the purpose of Freemasonry is to assist Judaics in creating a new world order. But one thing that I failed to mention as another foundation, another pillar of the occult, the dark occult and of Thelema, and that is the ancient Egyptian religion. And it's another unfortunate system of theology that some in the African American community aspire to. This notion that the racists on YouTube have this whole saying, "We was Kangs," and I think that's appropriate to use here because there's this notion, there's this romanticism, or ancient Egypt is romanticized by Afro Americans and seen in a very positive light, high esteem. But ancient Egypt was a brutal society where you had the pharaoh, who was supposed to be a living god, act as a absolute despot over the people and have control over all the resources. And it's something that most people would recoil from if that were to happen this day and age. So for example, let's say for example, Jeff Bezos was declared a living god and he owned everything in the United States, every man, woman, and child, every asset, every bit of land was really his, and if you had it in your possession, it was at his behest and he was allowing you to borrow it. I don't think most people would think that that is a good society or something that we should aspire to or something that the majority should adhere to. But that's how ancient Egypt was. Another factor, there's a book by Bauer on the ancient world history. I want to say her name is Susan Bauer, but I can't recall right now. But it's Bauer, and it's the history of the world, the ancient world, where she actually says that, and not only her, other people, the ancient Egyptians had poor diets. They had curvature. A lot of their skeletal remains show curvature of the spine. It was a brutal society. They were worked. And I like to liken it to you living to prepare some guy's elaborate funeral. Because that's what the people who built the pyramids and these sort of things, these monuments to these pharaohs' ego and their foolishness, devoted their lives to having someone have the greatest funeral ever. So it's nothing to aspire to. But again, Crowley, part of his doctrine comes from what he was able to piece together of ancient Egyptian theology. The Temple of Set, founded by Michael Aquino, uses Set as their key deity. And Set was, if you read it, it's very, very perverse. It is said in some of the tales that he came on to Horus, the son of Osiris, and Isis in a homosexual manner. And there's all manner of folly, debauchery, and nonsense in ancient Egyptian religion. But you have individuals in the Afro-American community that at least pretend to hold it dear and see it as sacred. Shaka Amos and Sarah Sutanseti are two individuals that I could think of in particular who hold ancient Egypt up as some sort of good religion to adhere to, when there's all manner of bizarre tale And in ancient Egyptian society itself, incest was practiced. There's even, I've read in some places that pharaohs actually would marry their daughter. So this isn't anything you could model a society on, and it's nothing that people should aspire to this day and age. Now, another point to emphasize when it comes to this Kabbalah and the Judaics' claims on ancient Egypt as well, because they like to claim that their false prophet Moses actually was from ancient Egypt. There's no archaeological evidence to suggest that Moses even existed. And this biblical Moses is a fairy tale, yet people want to adhere to that as well. It is time for us particularly in the Afro-American community, but this is for people in general as well, to jettison these false doctrines and to adopt more enlightened doctrines. I would prefer that you all adopt the doctrine of this ministries, but if not, there are others. Now, it's important to note these coincidences that all these societies who adhere to the dark occult, well, all these orders, so Freemasons, they're beholden to Judaics, and they're also attached to ancient Egyptian doctrine, or they claim that along with other fables, for example, the tales of Solomon in the Kabbalah and in the Old Testament. It's all of this is a part of these occult doctrines of these maniacs who run our society here in the United States. Freemasons, most of the founders and many of the presidents have been Freemasons. And again, one only has to look up the work of Albert Pike to see that at the heart of Freemasonry is Luciferianism, but there's also undertones of Judaism and the ancient Egyptian religion. Another thing before I end this video is I want to mention that some people who supposedly adhere to the ancient Egyptian religion try to conflate it and say that it's monotheism. Hindus also do this. They believe in a multitude of gods, and many people, would classify the Hindu pantheon as demonic. One only has to read the stories of Kali, Shiva, and other deities in that particular faith, and you would reach a similar conclusion if you're objective. But just like the ancient Egyptians, Hindus try to claim to be monotheistic, but they're actually polytheists. They believe in a multitude of gods. I was listening to Faroese radio from the country known as the Faroe Islands, and they actually had a convert from Hinduism to Christianity, and he confirmed this. He said there's over 3 million gods in Hinduism. Another interesting note is that, like Judaism, Hinduism has a rigid caste system. Judaics have this belief that people with the name Cohen, and variants of that name are from the tribe of Levi, and they're supposed to be the high priest. In the Judaic caste, they're the master race and everyone else is their servant. In the Hindu caste, the Brahmins are the master race and everyone else falls beneath them. Isn't that a coincidence that all these false doctrines and doctrines that enslave men and cause havoc and pain and misery on the earth have so many commonalities? That'll conclude this video. God willing, there'll be another one today, or this evening actually. If not, God willing, we'll pick up tomorrow. It's Great Societies Ministries. Please support if you can with the donation. That's all for now.